Hi, I'm so excited to share our guest with you today. It's Stacey Cohen, CEO of Co Communications. Stacey runs a marketing agency that specializes in marketing, PR, and design. She got her start while working for CBS and Fox early on in her career in PR and marketing. Since then, Stacey launched her organization in 1997, where Stacey and team have ranked up accolades and awards. Currently, Stacey is a two-time author, an adjunct professor, where she utilizes her superpowers as an identical twin to help others navigate how to stand out. You don't want to miss this episode on personal branding and the power of showing up authentically you. Let's jump in, shall we? People Work is proud to present Strategic Shift, a podcast dedicated to exploring the future of work. Thank you for joining us as we hear stories of bold decisions and workforce innovations. I'm Christy Honeycutt, and I'm your host. Stacey, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. I know that my intro could never do you justice. I'd love for you to tell us where you're joining us from and a little bit about you and what you do.
Great. Thank you, Christy. I am so excited to be here. So I am actually in New York, White Plains, New York, to be exact. It's a suburb about 20 miles north of New York City. And I am CEO, founder of Co-Communications, full service public relations marketing agency. And I am also an author, and I am more recently an adjunct marketing professor at Fordham University, where I am an alumni. I got my MBA from there, and I am also a TEDx speaker and speak globally. So great to be here. Thanks, Christy.
I'm so excited that you could be here for our audience. So guys, I know Stacey because we met each other, I don't even know when, but I actually am in her book, which I'm so honored to be in, but it's Brand Up, guys. I'm going to put it up here so you can see it. This is her masterpiece. This is Julia. So go check this out. So if you are on the job market or you've been in the job market or you know someone who has, because I know that it's one of those three, get this book. This is a brilliant, practical, tactical book with guidance from, I don't even know, over 50 people. You really pulled our community for the best of the best. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Sure, absolutely. I wrote Brand Up for early career professionals to help them stand out and navigate the challenging job market. And as we know, and I'm sure we'll be getting into it, but the resume black hole is not a myth. It's the new normal. And this book follows my first book. The first book was for high school students to stand out during college admissions. And now this book is to stand out in the job search, but also advancing your career, or if you're an entrepreneur. I have a full chapter in entrepreneurship.
And I know kind of the drive behind your brilliance, and you said something a couple of times, stand out, and I think that's a really important thing. And yes, you're marketing CEO, so you know it's important as well. Can you tell us your origination story with twinning and why this is such a passion project for you?
I love it. Yes. And it is such an important part of my story. So I grew up as a twin, and very, for anyone out there that's a twin, they probably will identify with this. But growing up as a twin, really challenging. Think about it. We shared a room all our lives. We had twin beds, and we were constantly compared, and a lot of insensitive remarks. So it'd be like, Stacey, why does your sister get better grades than you? Why do you weigh more than your sister? And I had one aunt growing up in Brooklyn that she didn't even call us by our names. It would be saying something like to my mom, "Oh, are the twins coming?" So again, it was the need for me to form my own identity and to be my own person from an early age. And it's interesting because being a twin, I love it now, but I did not love it growing up. And it really, again, it shaped who I am now in terms of working so hard to create my own identity, but also helping others. And at the end of the day, it's all about figuring out what is it that makes you unique, being known for something, and it's interesting. And starting in high school, my twin sister and I found very different areas to be great at. And really, really shaped. A lot of people say, well, what does being a twin have to do with personal branding? It's like, it's really everything. It's
Hmm.
again, it's like, what, what do you bring to the world? How do you stand out? In this world, especially now, it's so competitive. You need to be the exception. You can't be the average. You can't blend in. Again, how can you stand out and attract the attention of the decision maker? And in the early years, it's college, and then later on, it's a hiring manager, or if you're an entrepreneur, it's investors or new clients.
Yeah, that's very well put. You made me think of a quote from Ruth Gautian, Dr. Ruth Gautian from Cornell. She's our chief learning officer. She says, average is the floor. Because so for so long we've heard things like, oh, well, they're above average or they're at average. Like average was okay. Average is never okay. It's the floor. And so I love that you're talking about how to set yourself apart in each of these circumstances because you want to be memorable. And we're living in such a future of work with AI and the resume black hole, like the average applicant, let's see, the average job gets over 3,000 applicants today. And that's not just like hourly workers, that's like professional roles too. So you hit the head on the nail with it's competitive. So Stacey, what were your favorite parts of your book that you think would resonate with people that are looking to make a job move?
It's broken up into three parts. The first, and I have to share with you, as a professional marketer, there's no difference. I mean, of course, some variations, but the same principles apply whether I'm marketing a product, a service, or a person. And I don't mean to feel like a person is a commodity, because so far from that. But these days we have to be our own marketers. So I teach people how to be their own marketers, to take control. And it starts with discovery, and then it goes into the development and then the delivery. I would say the most important part, and what people skip over, is the development. And that is the part that's most critical. It's the same thing with my agency clients, right? It's like you go after the next shiny penny. Oh, I want to get on TikTok. I want to start developing Instagram reels. No, you've got to go through this discovery. Self-awareness is so important. And you and I both know there's so many statistics out there that show that those who are self-aware are more successful. So again, what is your superpower? And this has to be authentic, right? You can't make something up that you think others want to hear. It has to be true to you. So again, going through, I set up a whole me squared exercise, and it's kind of like a SWOT analysis of marketing, where you take these exercises, you reflect on who you are, but you also need that 360-degree view, because we all have blinders on. So that will require asking friends, business colleagues, family, you know, name 5 adjectives how you would describe me. Again, and then you're basically, and a lot of people would call it your elevator pitch, but I actually believe this is your uniquely me statement that you are going to use at all of your different touch points. And again, I think the discovery process is really important. The second most important thing, if I may, I have a whole chapter on networking. Networking is it's not like a luxury. It is a requirement. If you want to get through ATS screening, you've got to be great at networking, right? I feel like they should offer a full course on networking. And I've always told, I have two girls, they're out of school for a couple of years, but I've always told them you're very smart. But in this world, it is not what you know, it is who you know.
Who you know. Oh, that's amazing. I love everything that you said about that just now. So, Stacey, if I turned it on you, right? Your wow statements? What are your 5 adjectives that your friends and family would describe you?
The first one is definitely connector. Um, big, 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 big connector. The second one is, it's interesting because it's hard for me. Sometimes I might give you 2 adjectives.
Yeah.
The next one is kind. I hear that a
Mm.
lot. I'm a giver. Next is creative, strategic, and also loving. And I know that's a strange one, but it's like to me, so it's interesting because a lot of people, when I tell them that I went to Syracuse, they're like, oh, you were in the communication school. I was in the College for Human Development. So to me, like valuing others, right? Human nature is such that we all want to be recognized. We all want to be valued. So I always come to every situation with heart, and there's some very difficult conversations owning a business that you need to have. But if you come to the table with heart and try to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and you could even call that perhaps empathy. And it's interesting because in my first book for high school students, my last chapter is on empathy.
And this is why we connect so well. And I love this exercise because, I've been in talent for 20 years. And the things that I hear oftentimes when individuals are looking for a job, they're dealing with a little bit of a reimagination of themselves, right? Like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What worked? What didn't work? And I love the idea of tapping on your friends, your family, your colleagues to, what do you see in me? What are my strengths? Because what I've found, I'm curious if you've experienced this as well, is most people they look past their strengths. They look like, well, that's easy to me, so that's not my strength. My strength is this thing that I went and studied 4 years for. My strength is this thing that I went and lifted, weights for 5 years. It's often what's really natural and easy to you, like your God-given gifts, are actually your talents. But I think, and I know so often we overlook those because they're easy. So I'm curious what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, you know what? I love, first of all, you are so spot on. I think, again, we have blinders on, and we all need to, here's a principle of marketing that I want to apply to what you just said. It's called WIFM, WIFM. What's in it for me? And maybe that's also why I'm very empathetic. It's like if I want to sell you this pen, I have to understand like what is important to Christy. And with something as simple as a pen, like you might have preferences. You may want it to be light. You may want black ink over blue ink. You may want it to have an easy clicker. Whatever it is, it's like I have to get into your mindset. And the other thing that I love where you're going with it, because I also think um, mindset is such an important part of all of this. And I think it also will help like truly uncovering strengths and being able to prioritize them. Because I believe I hear right now, I'm speaking to so many younger people. They are so defeated. It breaks my heart. They're like, Stacey, I sent out like 100 resumes and I haven't heard one response. And, hearing it a lot. And it's so hard to do this, but having a positive mindset, that growth mindset and know that you're going to fail. And especially these days, you are going to get more no's than yeses. But just know there's a yes around the corner. And mindset is so important to me. Both my two girls and also my staff, they know there are two words I do not want to hear, and is I can't, right? And so just to get back to your strengths, I feel that if you can push that, and it's a very hard thing, how do you put, like growth mindset into a resume or a cover letter? And I do think there are ways of doing it, but certainly in an interview, you can do that. But showing that you accept challenges, that you are a problem solver, not a problem spotter, right? That is something that hiring managers and more appreciate.
So what I'm hearing you say is a little bit of storytelling, which is a beautiful thing, right? Being able to take your strengths and put that into a way to communicate your value above everyone else. And I think you might have captured it in your book with my little quote, but what I tell people a lot of is go down each and every place that you've worked at and identify 3 items that you made an impact there. Not I was responsible for X, but I saved the company X through this initiative, or I brought revenue of Y for this initiative, or whatever it is. What was the impact, right? Because that's the story. And so I love that you're going this way, and there's so much information that you bring, and I know you speak on it, and your book is just such a great resource. You'd mentioned, setting them apart, and we talked about networking and LinkedIn. So I'm really curious about, so if they're looking at their resume, they're trying to set themselves apart, understanding what's special about them. If they go into LinkedIn, how do they apply that? Because I know networking plays a role within this as well.
So are you asking how do they make their LinkedIn profile, um, magnetic? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. I love that. I love that. And I have a full chapter on it. It's such a deep dive. And here's the thing. As a matter of fact, I
Okay.
did a summer leadership academy at Fordham this summer, and this was the best day. It was day 3 in the morning, a LinkedIn session, in the afternoon, networking, because I feel it's really important to start building that networking muscle early. The headline is probably, to me, the most important thing. A lot, and there is much research on this. Lot don't scroll past it. You have 220 characters, and I find that what the majority of people do, and I know that you can attest to this, they'll put like, VP of communications and the name of their company. You are so much more than just a headline. Talk about some of your value. What else might you do? Are you also, maybe you're on an advisory board. If you are, that deserves to be in your headline. That's showing leadership skills. Also, it goes without saying, a great headshot. Again, this is your first impression, and we all have to be masters of first impression, but I also love when the background tells a story,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It tells a story of what you do and who you are and what your value is. And I love what you just said about impact, because if you could show impact on your background, like that would really set you apart. Right? Like think about it, like on a resume, it'll even have like strengths or skills. And I don't see that many people do it, but, maybe you want to highlight, especially if you're looking for a job, you want to highlight some of your superpowers, maybe do it in one of those like, world type of things. But we all know that the resume is just a tool. And especially because many of them don't reach a human eye. And you probably know the statistics now better than I do, but I would probably easily say like 75%.
Well, what I can tell you is that recruiters are frustrated because they can't tell if a resume is real or fake. And more than not are AI. And then when they get the candidates actually to the table for a conversation, and remember, they're on KPIs, they have to meet certain things as well. They find out that the person isn't any of the things that they said. And so it becomes this very contentious relationship. There's also a little bit of talk about, is the resume actually needed anymore? Right? Which leans into what you're saying, how you're talking, how do you set yourself apart? We're in the age of, digital and social and AI. How do you set yourself apart? And so a lot of what you're talking about is really in the now.
This episode is sponsored by PeopleWork. PeopleWork's workforce building module helps organizations design talent pipelines that actually align with how work is changing. Instead of hiring reactively, teams can map skills, identify gaps, and build pathways that connect learning, hiring, and long-term workforce strategy in one place. It's built for employers and workforce leaders who need visibility into skills, not just job titles, and who want to make smarter, future-ready workforce decisions. Learn more at peoplework.com. Now, back to the episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, again, and I hear all this chatter like the resume is dead. It's not dead, but you need, and that's the development stage of the book. You have, just like in marketing, you have to develop your own marketing assets, right? So again, one of them is a resume. One of them is you need not just a good, but a great online presence, because in one internet minute, there's 5.9 Google searches. And so one someone searching for you, what are they finding online? And to a degree, we can control what shows up on page one. A lot of people don't realize that. Like if you, for example, if someone is a subject matter expert in a particular area, let's just say the environment, or let's just say health. What they want to do is, because again, media coverage, and this is again the public relations part of what I do, it shows up on the first couple of pages. So why not be a columnist? Instead of creating your own blog, which isn't going to get the eyeballs, you should be on a platform like Thrive Global and writing regular articles. That's going to float to the top. But then also think about what that does with your bio. Jane Smith is, blah, 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 and contributor to Thrive Global. It just builds your brand, builds your credibility, and it just has many waves. I'll take that a step further. So what I've been noticing, because I follow these numbers, that last year the number of Google searches was 6 million. So it dropped to 5.9 million, but it's been climbing. Why? Because of ChatGPT. That's where people are searching. So right now I'm saying make sure you Google yourself, but it's also, how are you showing up on ChatGPT? And what I love about getting media coverage, if you notice, if you were to Google someone, you'll get media sources. You know what I'm saying? So you'll get, the media is just like, it's picked up by ChatGPT. So just a great idea for your viewers out there to consider contributing to a column. Throughout my years, I contribute to Entrepreneur, Inman, Thrive Global, and Huffington Post, HuffPost now. But again, just like think outside the box. And these are things that will help really build credibility.
I really love that you're sharing with the audience, because I heard 2 action items that anybody could take. And I've had the opportunity of speaking with you, and I've definitely done both of these. But Google yourself and see what's showing up, and if it resonates with you, right? And then chatbot GPT yourself too. And take a look at that and just let it sit with you and see if you're showing up the way you want to. If you're not showing up the way you want to, then maybe there's some steps that you can take. So Stacey, I'm curious, based on what you've seen, if we were to go do that and we're not showing up authentically, or we're not showing up the way we would want, what guidance do you have for the audience to kind of take control of that social platform?
So are you saying if we're not showing up authentically on, is it on a Google search or is it
Yeah,
on, yeah,
like Google or
yeah,
Chatbot GPT, and we're
yes.
looking for a job, and we're like, oh my gosh, there's a video of
That's a
me
great
doing,
question because
yeah, like,
that I can tell you that can make or break a candidate. And I know that in our hiring processes that we will check them out. Like because their brand and how they're putting themselves out there is so important. So a couple of things that you can do. First of all, um, even people can create brand confusion. Do you know what I'm saying? So what I mean,
yes,
consistency is key, whether you're marketing a product or a service, the same thing for a person. So it's make sure all of your platforms are consistent. If you say that, you know, you're, you're a vice president of marketing here, don't say you're a marketing manager here. Everything has to be updated. Everything across the line has to be significant. I even say your email signature line is a great piece of real estate. And again, remember when you search, a lot of your social platforms are coming up first. But there's a couple of tips, especially related to media. I mean, you could create a news release, put it through the wires, and again, there could be a whole session just on this. So I'm just giving you very high level. Put it through some of the wires, and that will float on top. And there's a lot of different services. Or you could do, again, if you're subject matter expert, you could say something like 10, 10 10 spring trends for home interiors, right? And you could also push that through the wires. And and if you're a subject matter expert in that, that's going to flow up to the top. And again, contributing to online platforms is, I would say, my number one way to go. There's a lot of platforms like Medium, Authority that take content. You don't have to even be a regular contributor, but look to do that on a consistent basis. And as you know, communications works best. You can't just turn on the volume and walk away, right? You need that constant drumbeat. So that's really important to remember as well. And just like anything else, it's always about, like, a major principle of marketing, as you know, is you are evaluating impact success in real time. So again, you can keep a Google alert on yourself, right? So when something pops up, and they're free, when something pops up, you'll see what pops up. But again, hopefully it's a little bit more challenging if you have some negative results to suppress them, but with a lot of effort, um, and again, putting out great content, you can.
I love that. It's just
Podcasts
very,
also, Christy, do podcasts. Right? Podcasts rise to the top. Podcasts are such great content, such great content. And again, this is something you want to flow. If you're on a podcast, you want to flow it through your LinkedIn. You want to, if you have a website, um, and again, just make sure this is the part, when I said discover, develop, and then deliver. You continue to deliver content that speaks of your subject matter expert, because that is going to elevate, it's going to amplify your brand. At the end of the day, it's about value, right? Think about it. The discovery session is about figuring out and then showcasing your value to the world and why choose you. And then turning that value into visibility through various ways. And, the visibility you have to work on. And then, the visibility is what turns into opportunities.
so that our conversation is a live representation of that, right? So I had contributed to some articles. You were writing a book. One of your staff reached out to me and said, hey, can we use this? And I said, absolutely. And I was in this book, which is great, and met this wonderful, smart lady here. And then, I started, and obviously we got to know each other, on podcast, and you're here. So that is a live example of what you're teaching and coaching, and it worked.
It's a great example, because it's again, when you feel defeated, you're just like, you do have that I can't attitude, but just changing it up to like, I can, because at the end of the day, we have to manufacture our own opportunities. Nobody's just going to drop an opportunity. I mean, occasionally, but rarely at the door. And so to me, it's again, just really keeping your eyes open, keeping positive despite the many work challenges and this resume black hole, and just forging ahead.
No, really good advice. And you heard it here first from Stacey Cohen, CEO, Co-Communications. Stacey, as we wrap, I want to thank you for your time and your insight to give this to this community. Is there anything that you'd like to leave us with? Any last statements?
Yes. And first of all, thank you for being you, and the bright light you take to your podcast, but also just, you provide such value, Christy. So I just wanted to share that with you. So I have to say, to me, personal branding, there's a misconception around it, and a lot of people don't like the word personal branding. They think of it as the Kardashians and some narcissistic thing. But I have to tell you, personal branding is not about me, me, me. It's your value to others. And at the end of the day, it is not a luxury. It is a requirement now, and it's for life, right? And that's why I'm trying to start kids early in school. Understand personal branding is your career insurance policy. And I'll tell you another thing. I believe it is a future of work skill.
I agree wholeheartedly. Just like AI, you got to have both, guys. You got to have both. Well, Stacey, thank you so much for dropping some much needed knowledge on this audience and for holding a sacred space for us. I really appreciate it. If anyone that is watching or listening would like to get a hold of you, how would you recommend they do so?
Stacey Ross Cohen, Instagram. That's at Stacey Ross Cohen.
Perfect. She's on LinkedIn too, guys. But
yes, I'm on LinkedIn
awesome.
too. Yep.
I mean, all right. Well, awesome. Well, guys, if you haven't met this woman, I highly recommend you follow, go buy the book, and tune in next time for more powerful conversations. Thanks.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Christy Honeycutt. Be sure to subscribe to Strategic Shift so you never miss an episode. Tune in next time as we continue to explore innovation in the future of work. Until then, keep shifting.